you mentioned a couple of times that you committed crimes and you deserve to be punished.
Yeah.
And I wonder how easy it was for you to accept that you deserved to be punished, or whether you felt that you were hard on them.
Okay. Being addicted to that drug taking and drug dealing lifestyle, when I first got arrested, I resented getting arrested. I was pining for all that back. But there was a turning point, and I credit the intensity of the jail experience in two ways. Firstly, 90% of the guys were shooting up heroin and crystal meth. I was surprised that society rounded up people with addiction issues and put them where there's the most drugs. And it made the road of drug use open up in front of my eyes. So I started out taking drugs over here. Thought it was fun, thought it was cool. As a student, I got halfway down that road where the SWAT team took me off the road by knocking my door down. The guys in the jail, they were near the end of that road of drug use. So I then felt ashamed that I put people on that road. When you do drugs, the pleasure's high in the beginning and the pain is very low. But every time you take drugs, the pleasure goes down a tiny little bit and the pain goes up a little bit until the pain rises above the pleasure. But once you're more than halfway down that road, you're addicted, the addiction has got a hold of you, and even though you're killing yourself, like those guys are killing themselves in the jail, hepatitis C, liver damage, yellow jaundice skin, all this stuff, the addiction's so strong that they just can't stop doing it. And then when I was on the brink of suicidal madness as well, you know, it kind of pushed me to the edge of insanity. And it made me, you know, really look at what I'd done wrong. And because of the yoga and because of my belief in karma, I knew I couldn't change my past. But all I could do was pledge to myself to go out and tell my story in the hope that people wouldn't like to make my mistakes. And that's what I do now. I do over 100 talks a year at schools, speak to between 10 and 20,000 students a year. And I wouldn't do it if it wasn't having results and I wasn't getting good feedback from them. I get all this feedback from the students. If you go to my Twitter account and press on my favourites, it's all just live feedback coming from the students. And one of the things they say is, we don't listen to our teachers, you know, we don't listen to our parents. You came in, you didn't preach at us. You just told us your story, and it's shown us what that road of drug use can lead to. And even our parents sometimes request them to meet me. They say, look, we're lucky if we get a grunt out of our son when he comes home from school, but after hearing your talk, he wouldn't shut up about it for the rest of the week. It's the first time we could sit down and talk to him about drugs. So as long as it continues in that vein, you know, I'm going to keep doing it. And my whole talk is on YouTube as well, so any school in the world can watch it for free. Yeah.
How did you get yourself off the drug, and how did you get yourself to actually imagine a longer term future? Because I'm sure that a lot of people you met couldn't think about even an hour later or tomorrow.
Yeah. The SWAT team was the wake-up call I needed. I was getting off the crystal meth and all this stuff in the jail, and I'm thinking, I'm in here on drug charges. It's inconceivable that I'm going to be doing more drugs. You know, facing a possible life sentence and all this stuff. I need to be in a sober frame of mind to, you know, do the best I can in the legal system so that I don't get a big sentence. So going through that process was what got me off drugs completely. I stopped dealing drugs about a year before I actually got arrested. And the reason I stopped dealing drugs is because I met a woman who wasn't a raver. She mocked me for being a raver, and I ended up falling in love with her. And I lost her because she taught me about dealing, but I lost her because, you know, the SWAT team came when I was living with her. That was the lady who they charged with one prescription pill. And then, even though I didn't think I was an addict, obviously I've got that addiction gene. And telling myself I can go out and do a little bit of something, I know now it's just going to lead to a whole load of trouble. So it's having that mental framework that's been put in, the psychiatrists and other people, and, you know, my own review of my life that's stopped me from going back to it. Yeah. Okay, next question, yeah.
I'm guessing that you've got a tremendous inner strength from way before you started your voyage of self-discovery. That must have come from your very early life. If that's true, Have you thought about it? Can you tell us something about it?
That's an interesting observation. I'm not sure if that's just what I went through was forced that to come out, and if anyone else went through that in this room, it would come out in you as well. Because I don't feel before I did have that. You know, I had a bit of anxiety, I had a bit of shyness. You know, I don't feel like I was a naturally strong person. But going through this, you're forced to adapt to the situation, and we have an amazing ability to adapt to a really harsh situation. People say to me all the time, how on earth did you get through this? I would have lasted 5 minutes. But they would if they were in there and they were going through it. Whatever that is that's in us, that strength, it comes out in those circumstances. There's a book by Viktor Frankl. He survived Auschwitz, and he talks about things along those lines. The strength coming out, and the people who put meaning into their lives each day, they're the ones who lasted and survived the experience. Yeah, so it must be a human trait. Yeah, okay.
Did you ever believe in God or a higher power and felt that there was some strength coming from that power?
Okay, I was christened Catholic, but I would classify my spirituality as the yoga and the meditation. You know, it was forced on me when I was a younger person, so I kind of rebelled against that. I saw in the jail that religious services really helped the guys. The guards didn't like them coming in to give the religious services. They said it was a security risk, it was an inconvenience and all this stuff. But certain people, really good people, you know, went through all that week after week to help some of the guys. One of my best friends in the prison is T-Bone, the guy who's actually on the back of that card. I know I mentioned about the racial division, but over time I learned to play all the gang rules and I became friends with T-Bone. And this story is absolutely amazing. He was a Marine, got out, set himself up as a bodyguard, and got addicted to cocaine, started dealing it, and ends up in prison. He's 6.5 foot tall. Called him John Coffey after that guy in the Green Mile. It's like this big, completely filled up my doorway in the jail. And he said it was his Christian duty to stop prison rape and that God had his back. Yeah, and when he showed up at my door, his entire body was covered in scars. It looked like someone had sewn him up and cut him up and sewn him back together again from all of his life and death fights, from sticking up for people. And he was within inches of losing his life on more than one occasion. He said it was God who was saving him from dying on those occasions. In that cutthroat environment, there was no one in there at all standing up for people like that. This guy was absolutely amazing. Yeah. Okay, next question, please. Yes?
So you did 9.5 years then?
No, I was sentenced to 9.5 years. As a first-time non-violent drug offender, I only had to serve just under 6 years.
And so did you ever date you were working towards all through it? Or, you know,
My release date.
That,
My release date? Yeah, it was kind of ambiguous because I was getting out through a loophole and it wasn't sorted out until the last minute. But yeah, I mean, one of the happiest days of my life was the day I got sentenced. Because the uncertainty in the jail is worse than the conditions, it's worse than anything. To think you're going to spend the rest of your life in an environment like this, that's the thing that hurts you the most. Yeah. You had a question?
Well, I was just going to ask something to do with religion, what they did. I'm going to change the question. So, you're in prison, so you must have come across like Christianity, Islam, Arianism, Satanists, and you kind of sound kind of Buddhist. You kind of sound you talk about karma, you know, and that kind of sounded kind of Buddhist to me. When you add it all up together, do you feel as if you could have made it through that whole experience without having some sort of spirituality or some sort of thing to keep you going? I know you said yoga and meditation kept you going, but that's a bit different from spirituality in a sort of sense. So what kind of role do you think that played for you? How much of the journey was that for you?
I think it's really important.